Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us, I was kinda late, I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great. Ladies and gentlemen, Steph Hardy is on the air. Had to drop a couple bars just to make you all aware. So, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. You know I go by Joe or the rest of the flow, yeah.
Hey y'all, welcome to the first HWP Extra episode of the new year. Happy New Year, y'all. It is 2025. We've made it, and because we made it, that is half the battle. Now we just got to get through. So I am so happy to be before you guys on this Monday night. Oh my God, like this has just been a historic night full of ups and downs emotionally with wrestling and just so many amazing things that have taken place. And we watched Raw come into a new line of media. Like, oh my God, we have literally gone from taping on videotapes to streaming when it comes to wrestling and if you were born in the 90s. So I literally feel like I just sat and watched a full scale movie. This episode of Monday Night Raw was probably one of the best episodes I've ever seen in my whole life. And I'm just so happy to be before you guys to talk about it tonight. Of course, I'm your girl, Stephanie Hardy. Welcome to the Hardy Wrestling Podcast Extra, where I talk about specific episodes or specific moments in wrestling. So, this is me talking about what we just witnessed together, the Raw on Netflix premiere. And of course, this is going to be out of order. And I also appreciate all of you guys for watching me on any live platform, because you could be watching a certain post show that's taking place right now that's talking about the exact same thing. You could be listening to somebody else, or you could be watching somebody else, but you are watching me. And for that, I am so grateful. So, yeah, Rise on Netflix, y'all. And when I say I was gagged from beginning to end, I was gagged from beginning to end. And of course, if you feel the same way I feel, and by moment, as I'm discussing it throughout the show, chime in the comments and you might wind up on the screen so you can talk about how you felt about this episode or if you're still processing or whatever. But all in all, I enjoyed myself. It was the perfect and somewhat imperfect celebration of the past and the present and where we're set to go. It's like a stamp of where it is in terms of culture and pop culture. Like it is absolutely nuts how this whole episode was just a perfect um combination of just the past and the present. It was great. Rakarsha's watching on YouTube. Hey girl, happy new year. Thank you for watching. So yeah, there is so much to get into, but of course, you know, since I'm me, I have to start by talking about the women. And there was only one women's match on the card, which ruffled a lot of people's feathers. You know, a lot of women's wrestling fans, because they sort of felt like the women's intercontinental title final could have been on this episode as well because of how large of a platform Raw being on Netflix was. But at the same time, when you really look at how big this show was and how all the moving parts of the show was, they probably felt like maybe they just didn't have a lot of time for it. But either way, there was one women's match on the card, and it was for the Women's World Championship. Now, at one point, it was announced as a last woman standing match, but I guess maybe they changed their mind, or maybe somebody made that up. I don't know. Maybe I made it up. I don't know. But Rhea Ripley, the Eradicator, Mommy, and the beat of all of our hearts went up against Liv Morgan for the Women's World Championship. And this match was a doozy. It was really good. There were shenanigans involved, but either way, both women definitely killed it. Um, they stood like apart from each other, of course, staring at each other from afar as they just, tried to figure out like what was about to be this match. And these women know each other so well because, of course, at one point they were tag team champions together, I believe. They were in a tag team together and they were friends, but now, of course, they're bitter rivals now. And the one thing that was that a lot of emphasis was being placed on in this rivalry is the fact that it has to end here. And I am really glad that at this point, it does end here because this rivalry has been very bitter from last August all the way up until now. And Rhea has had to jump through so many hoops in order to even really get to Liv. Like, there were times where she even fought Liv and it still wasn't fair and square. And you could argue that even in this match, it wasn't fair and square. But Rhea actually fought through the BS, fought through Dominic and Raquel utilizing chairs and titles and distracting the referee in order to try to get the upper hand on her. And she won her baby back. She got the one thing she truly cares about, and that is the Women's World Championship that she never lost. Like, let's really think about that for a second. Rhea Ripley never lost this championship. She was injured. She defended it at WrestleMania. Then she got injured by Liv, who threw a chair at her, and she had to give the title up. And then Liv, for all of that big talk she was doing, was literally won that title via cheating, via Dominic, off of Becky Lynch. And that is essentially what led to Becky Lynch sort of taking her hiatus after she lost against Liv in a steel cage. And Rhea had to fight tooth and nail in order to get, her title back, fight through Dominic's shenanigans, the Judgment Day shenanigans, and all of the above in order to get to what she truly wanted. And I am so happy that the focus was mainly on each other and on the title in the match and not even, the whole boyfriend thing. Like, it was very refreshing to see it in this way and to see Rhea actually be smart enough um to just jump out of those calculations that Liv always had going on, because Liv never could. And I've said this multiple times on my show before. Liv never could beat Rhea just straight up. And this match basically told that story. And I thought maybe we would see a little bit more of Liv and her reaction to losing the title afterward, but we didn't. And we saw more of Rhea just reacting to having it still and having it back. And it was just really cool. And also, for this to be the only women's match, I did enjoy the fact that Daphne LaShawn, aka Aja Smith, was refereeing this match as the sole female referee in this show. It was really good to see her. It's always good to see her. Just from a representation standpoint, as a black woman, it was always great to see that. And, just to see her ref this match, it was just really good. So big ups to all the women who participated in this, including Raquel. But Rhea is our new women's world champion, and I am so freaking happy. But the drama doesn't end there because Dominic wanted to act like a where's my hug kind of guy and actually go in the ring, during Rhea's moment and center himself, like a man, and center himself in her moment and try to ask for a hug from his ex. And I'm sitting here like, oh, so now that she's a champion again, now you want to rub up on her again. But Rhea wasn't having it and she kicked him in his hoo ha, which I'm more than sure he didn't feel that much because it's probably not that much down there. But hey, either way, she kicked him down there and gave him what for and celebrated with her title. Now, they did show, I believe, online or yet another clip on social media of her having an interview with Jackie Redmond along with Damian Priest, who was set to go up against Finn Balor in a street fight next week. But either way, it was just really good to see them get some comeuppance because At this point, the Judgment Day don't even have any titles anymore. Liv was the only girl in the group who had a title after Finn and JD lost those tag team titles. So now they are goldless, and they have to contend with that while also, deal with the fact that they've all been beefing with each other. So it was really nuts and really just happy. It was a very happy moment for me to watch Rhea just finally get her comeuppance and get the title that she never lost. And for a minute, I thought Becky Lynch was going to pop up and be like, hey, I want to fight you. But as it turns out, Rhea got surprised by a certain biker taker in the form of Undertaker on a motorcycle. And they had a good little moment together, and that was cute and everything. So big ups to her for having that moment afterward, even though the dong really caught everybody off guard. And for a second, I was like, hold on, is he about to attack Dominic? What's going on? But he came out there, rode his motorcycle just to give us a little bit of nostalgia, and had his fist pump moment with Rhea, and that was cool. So, yeah, that was good. Rhea supremacy, mommy supremacy, yes. Our sweetheart, our big gothic sweetheart, is the champion again. So that was the only female action that we got, but there was a lot of female representation in terms of the guests that showed up. Michelle McCool was in the audience, as well as a number of WWE superstars like the women's tag team champions Bianca Belair and Naomi, like Tiffany Stratton, the new WWE women's champion. Shout out to her for that. Like Lyra Valkyria and Damage Control. Like all the women were out there, and even in the audience. And then you had another OG that was very unexpected in the form of Nikki Bella. That was something I was not expecting at all. But the fact that she was there was just like, wow, that's cool. And my boss lady name twin, Stephanie McMahon, was there too. So it was a nice little, back down memory lane type of thing. So it was cool. And also, we saw Vanessa Hudgens from High School Musical and other things there with her husband. We also saw Danielle Pineau. I feel like I'm pronouncing her last name wrong, but either way, she played Topanga in the iconic show Boy Meets World, and she was sitting right next to Will Friedle from Kim Possible and also Boy Meets World too. So it was just a lot of great representation in terms of celebrities, female celebrities, male celebrities too. Everybody was there. It was a star-studded affair. But moving more so back to the action in terms of WWE, we had John Cena come out and address the WWE universe, of course, because since the new year has begun, we have to embrace the idea that this year is going to be his last active year in professional wrestling, because after this, he is getting ready to retire. So he came out and talked about, what a lot of wrestling pundits and wrestling writers have been saying about who he should face during his farewell tour, like a CM Punk, like a Cody Rhodes, or in my case, like a Carmelo Hayes. But he did mention that he felt like maybe a 17-time like a 17th title reign was out of the question for him. But as the fans booed that, he realized, well, maybe, it would take a miracle for me to get a title opportunity like that. But considering he also just declared for the Royal Rumble, and then we have Elimination Chamber on the horizon too, he has multiple opportunities to have a championship match at WrestleMania if he wants it, or if he wins either one of those things. So now that John Cena has officially declared for the Royal Rumble, I'm definitely here for watching him win and stuff, just so he can have that 17 title reign in his last go round. I'm definitely here for it because I'm just here for all the nostalgia at this point, because John Cena is really like the superstar of a generation. It's like I mentioned in episodes before. Like when he started his career, my sister was a baby, and I was like 7 to 8 years old. So the idea of me and my sister both now reaching adulthood, and he's wrapping his career up, it's just really astounding, and it's heartbreaking from a selfish standpoint, but it makes sense because he's given so much of his career and so much of his life embodied, just to entertain us and to raise us. So he deserves this time that he's about to have. But in the midst of it all, I'm just really grateful that I get to experience this last time, because sometimes there have been wrestlers in the past who have been retired due to injury and never really got to have like a last go round, or God forbid, or in the worst possible way, like something tragic happens and they're not able to finish the way that they would have liked to, due to outside forces outside of our control. But the fact that John Cena gets to wrap his career up the way that he wants to is an amazing thing. So the last time is now, but we get to bask in it and enjoy it from now until December of this year. And time can go by really fast when you're an adult, but at the same time, let's just bask in the moments that we do have it, because once it's gone, it's gone. It's like he said at Money in the Bank. If you want some, hurry up and come get some, because the last time is now. And let me just say, him coming out in Dodger blue was amazing. And if you get that reference, you get that reference. Shout out to Kendrick Lamar. But I loved, his outfit and the towel he had, and of course the title belt that he had, that WWE shop did have, but I think it's sold out now. So, but either way, the merch will be bought to commemorate this occasion. Malcolm in the comments saying John versus Cody for the undisputed title at Mania. I was thinking the same thing, off of the basis of something else that happened tonight, or something else that I thought was going to happen, but we'll get to that later. So, in the midst of it all, we had a one-on-one match between Jay Uso and Drew McIntyre, because Drew McIntyre um, is in his Crash Out 2.0 era. Y'all know last year he crashed out because of the whole CM Punk thing, but now he's crashing out on the bloodline again because he wants vengeance for how they ruined his title opportunity at Clash at the Castle, in Wales, not in Scotland. And so in the midst of this, he got to fighting with Jay Uso, and Jay Uso wanted a match with him, and Adam Pearce gave it. So this match was pretty good for the most part. I enjoyed what I did see from it, because I was in the middle of other things while this match was on. No shade, but there was a lot happening in my house. But other than that, the action was pretty solid in this match. I loved it. But something that definitely caught me off guard was when Travis Scott came out and he made his entrance, and at first I thought it was reported online that maybe he was going to perform at the show. But as it turns out, he didn't perform. He really showed up with his hardcore title that was gifted to him by Triple H at a show, and he came out smoking some loud, or smoking some weed, depending on who you are, partaking in the grass and the happy grass. And then after that point, everybody was crunk and screaming and stuff. And then he's there because he did the new theme song for Raw that I'm pretty sure we'll hear in the next couple of days. And he came out with Jay Uso and they were doing the yeet dance. And it just had the cool factor to it. But a lot of people online were definitely freaking out at the fact that they really had a rapper on here smoking weed. I hope I don't get demonetized or whatever, or blocked for that. But literally, he was smoking weed like everything was just chill. And then someone on Twitter actually posted a picture of him side by side with Dennis Rodman in the 90s smoking a cigar with the NWO. And I was just like, Jesus Christ. We are in a different time. We are in such a different time. And I feel like I love it. I just really love it because this is Netflix now. Like, it's just, you know, there's a level of uncensorship that can happen now that they're streaming and not on network television, where there are, numerous restrictions. Even my dad noticed that, during the tribal combat match, the crowd was saying "F you solo," and they didn't even edit it out. And he was just like, "Oh yeah, they can't edit that out now." And I was like, "Oh, oh." We are going to hear some colorful things, y'all. And this is the start of it right here. Travis Scott smoking weed with a hardcore championship with next to Jay Uso. Baby, you really can't make any of this stuff up. But either way, their match was incredible. One of the best parts of this match for me was just watching how Jay Uso was getting beat up by Drew McIntyre, but then towards the end of the match, he was playing possum and acting like he was like super tired and everything. But then when Drew McIntyre thought he had him dead to rights, Jay Uso pinned him, like pinned his shoulders, and then after that he won, and I was like, oh. And I was so happy about that. I was like, yes, Jay, you literally outsmarted Drew. And Drew here again looked like he was reaching another level of crash out from it. So I low key feel like this definitely isn't going to be the end of it, especially since Drew decided he was going to pop up in the tribal combat match. But we're going to get to that in a minute. But either way, I'm happy that Jay Uso got this win on this big of a platform. Like, it's great. Make him champion this year, please. So, yeah. And then, of course, we get to this main event. This very heated, very angry main event between Seth Rollins and CM Punk. Now, if I'm going out of order, y'all, I'm sorry. But either way, this match was in the main event. And to watch Seth Rollins come out in, well, in such an amazing outfit where he was just looking like a dragon, like a mad dragon, it was just kind of nuts. I was like, okay, sir, I see you're out here to prove a point, and I completely understand that. But then you also had CM Punk come out, um, dressed up in his Ring of Honor outfit, which gives off the impression that this match is going to be a little bit more grittier and that he's ready to fight. And then someone on social media also noticed that this was the outfit that he infamously wore at the AEW All In pay per view when he fought Samoa Joe for the final time, and then got into that little scuffle that people um, tend to bring up a lot of the time when they want to just, talk about the craziness of life. But yeah, this match was absolutely insane. I enjoyed it very much. I feel like the part that I loved the most about this match was the fact that they kept using each other's moves back and forth. And I was just like, holy cow. So y'all are really just being super petty, not only with the words y'all say, but also with the moves y'all use. It's just really crazy how hated how much they really just hate each other. Like, it's just really nuts. Um and I loved how on commentary, oh, let me just say Michael Cole and Pat McAfee were excellent. Um Michael Cole was talking about and told more detail as to how Seth Rollins actually drove to CM Punk's, like, I guess, seminar and tried to, get training from him for free because he couldn't pay for it. And how he basically impressed CM Punk in the moment, but because he couldn't do it for free, he was just like, okay, well, I'm sorry. But in the midst of that, their feud, they begin to respect each other. But of course, when CM Punk leaves, that causes a rift in their friendship. And Seth has feelings about it. And then he also has feelings about a lot of the things that Punk said after he left, and all of the above. And he proceeded in his mind to carry WWE on his back while CM Punk was just out doing whatever it is that he wanted to do because he wanted to do it, but also because he wanted to get away from an unhealthy environment. And I feel like that's something that Seth isn't taking into account. Like, just because you decided to thrive in this environment and stay in it does not mean that it was healthy for everybody else. And I feel like that's just something that he just keeps missing and not taking into consideration. But of course, none of that matters when you're ready to beat somebody up. Because it's like my boyfriend says, all is fair in F that F that man. So yeah. This was very, like, you could feel the tension with a knife. You could definitely cut the tension with a knife with this match. And something that really got me together emotionally was just the idea that years ago, I used to fantasy book this match in my head so many times, especially when Seth had that gimmick where he was the Monday Night Messiah. And in my brain, I always figured that the Monday Night Messiah versus the Second City Saint would just be a sick match. But I did not think, I thought that it would never happen simply because of the fact that CM Punk said he would never return to WWE. And I had just, accepted that as the reality. But of course, that's not the reality we live in now. So we got this match and it was nuts. These two, like I said earlier, destroyed each other, used each other's moves, were talking all kinds of trash, beating each other's faces in, holding each other while beating each other's faces in, jumping onto each other on the well, not the turnbuckles, on the barricade, and shocking new fans, as you can see sitting up front, as well as fighting on the commentary desk, the brand new commentary desk at that. Like, that desk is cute. Like, leave it alone. But this is wrestling. But either way, in the midst of all of this fighting, CM Punk came out on top after he fell on top of Seth Rollins after hitting him with the GTS. And he won the match. And after the post show came on and Jackie Redmond interviewed him as he was walking back to the ring, he said that this victory and this night, was a really big moment for him. And he said that this was for a friend of his whose name I can't remember right now. But then he also said that this victory was for Chris Bay. And for those who may not know who Chris Bay is, he was a wrestler in TNA who is very accomplished in other promotions as well, but he sustained a really bad injury. And the wrestling community has rallied around him and raised money for him, to just cover fees and to just, take care of his form of living while he's not able to wrestle and make money. So if you find that link somewhere to take care of Chris Bay, or Google Chris, CHRISBEY, like Beyonce, except it's not pronounced that way. Um, you can find that and donate to it or buy a T-shirt that um, pays tribute to him in that way. So yeah, you could just help him out that way. But I thought it was a class act that CM Punk would mention him, and then he also said to all of his haters who felt like, oh well, y'all tried to tell me I wasn't ish. Look at me now, and I was just like, yes. And then he also low key preached another word when he said that 42 or 46 was just a number. And I thought that was really amazing because in life, a lot of people feel like if they don't, and this is something I struggle with too. A lot of people feel like if you don't have a lot accomplished by the time you reach the age of 30, then you feel like you failed. And something that I'm trying to internalize and learn for myself is that that's not the case. Um, and knowing that even as you're growing up, that you can still make great moments for yourself and still accomplish new things for yourself, even though you are of a certain age. Like, life doesn't just stop, and you don't just become an old person when you're in your 30s or your 40s or whatever. Age does not define the level of success that you reach. And to a degree, that does apply to CM Punk right here because literally, there are people who started their careers like DDP. He started his wrestling career relatively late in the game too, but he turned out to be a heavyweight champion. And to see a lot of these people still thriving and still being as healthy as can be in a new environment that allows for that well into their 30s to even 40s and to some degree even 50s, it's just really amazing. So, yeah, don't let age define the level of success that you can have. So, yeah, I think that was a really amazing lesson to learn from what CM Punk had to say. And as Seth was walking away, he looked like he was very space-eyed or whatever. So I feel like maybe their feud might not be done. But either way, this was an amazing main event. And if they do fight again, I'm definitely here for it because it was awesome. And oh, I'm pretty sure this baby loved the event too. So yeah, there's also, of course, the notion of me talking about the tribal combat match. And like I said, these pictures are out of order. Some of these pictures are out of order because of just how much was going on and just me trying to just keep up with everything. But the match between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, for the right to be the real original tribal chief, was fire. That match was amazing. It was definitely giving bloodline rules to a certain degree. Of course, if you watch the match between Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes from last year's WrestleMania, that's kind of what this match was giving. Outside of, just the Avengers of wrestling coming to save Roman, that's kind of what this match was giving, and I really enjoyed it. For the most part, I was getting irritated after Solo's crash out cousins came out to help him. I was like, no! Like, I thought it was over with after that point. I was like, no, please, Jesus, no. But Sammy Uso, in this case, and Jimmy came out to even the odds, and then that made me feel a little bit better. But then, of course, you have Kevin Owens coming to the thick of things, and I'm just like, dude, what? Why are you here? And then that's where I really thought the ish was going to hit the fan. But of course, Cody Rhodes comes out and he saves the day. And I was just like, yay. But the more Cody and Kevin beat each other up, the more I feel like they're not going to make it to Indianapolis for their Royal Rumble match. Like, I just don't feel like they're going to make it. Like, they're just going to keep fighting and keep beating each other to the point where they're not gonna have anything left to give us for this ladder match. But it was just nuts. And then the fact that Cody hit the Cody Cutter onto Kevin Owens in his dress shoes wrapped me up. I was like, excuse me, you're doing a Cody Cutter in your church shoes? Stop. Stop everything. Cody Rhodes is just not a normal human being. And I just I just can't get over it. I just can't. But either way, to see Roman, finally get his Ula Fala back was just really amazing. And I thought that maybe Paul was going to bestow it upon him, right? But no, as it turns out, his cousin, his movie star, future WWE Hall of Famer, final boss cousin, The Rock, came out and bestowed it upon him. He came back out and bestowed it upon him because the show started with The Rock coming out and addressing the people, talking about how, this episode was making history and how um when he first started on Raw and talking about his journey, and he even hit the people's eyebrow, which was really cool to see in terms of nostalgia purposes. Like, when it happened, I was like, do it for the 90s, eh? Do it for the 90s, eh? But either way, The Rock coming out was such an amazing moment, and he was able to share his title with his daughters, his little daughters, Tiana and Jasmine. And them seeing him in WWE element is just really cool. And then his mom was there, their grandma, and then his wife was there, and it was really nice. So it was just a beautiful family affair. And then in Los Angeles, there was a lot of Pacific Islander representation because when I tell you there were a lot of chews in the audience, I was just like, y'all better come through. Step through, Pacific Islanders. I love y'all. So, yeah, all of the mana was in the moment. And the fact that The Rock gave him the Ulafala and put it on him, and he felt like everything was right with the world was really beautiful. And it's definitely symbolic when you think about who gave him the Ulafala in the first place, which were the Wild Samoans, also known as Roman's dad and Roman's uncle. And when you think about how in the past year both of them have passed on to a higher plane, it just makes it all the more deeper. So yeah, I'm glad that Roman has his Ulafala back. And I'm not gonna hold you. For a second there, I thought The Rock was gonna attack Roman and take the Ulafala off of him and be like, I'm the real chief, because they kept talking about how The Rock has this high chief name, and I don't want to mispronounce it, and I don't want to mispronounce it or butcher it in any way, shape, or form. But he is a high chief of the island of Samoa. So they kept mentioning that on commentary. So I'm thinking, so if y'all keep talking about this has to mean something, right? But I guess tonight, they just let it go and charged it to the game and just relaxed so Roman could have his moment. And I'm glad he did. Um, and then The Rock also got on Instagram and had a drink with Cody Rhodes, and he hugged Cody Rhodes, and that was really interesting considering the whole half of last year he was beating the crap out of him with a belt, and you know talking all sorts of trash to his mom. So it's just really nuts how everything happened. It seems like this version of The Rock, I'm not sure if he's the final boss. I'm not sure if he feels like he's been humbled or what, but he was really chill tonight in a way that I did not expect. So this show was very interesting. I really enjoyed it. I felt like I was watching a movie the entire time. Like when everything was done, I felt like I was watching a movie towards the end of it. But there is something that I do want to point out to end this show, and it's the fact that Triple H did this intro. Now, of course, the intro to all the WWE shows is still the same with all the constellations and the stars or whatever, which I love. Um, but when this episode came on, the cold open started with Triple H's voice talking about the history of wrestling as a whole, and it had clips, older clips of people going to circuses and seeing, the carnies as they used to call them way back when, and going to see those shows like that. And then, going and then people watching it on old school television and stuff like that. And just moving into TV and what it once was, and now us moving into streaming and just showing all of the truth of wrestling with its characters, good and bad. And when I tell you that hit on an emotional level, it really hit. Because I've been watching this my entire life. And when I tell you these stories carry the same way that a regular TV show or a soap opera would, they very much carry that same weight. Even though a lot of people might look down on it or whatever, it carries the exact same weight. And in that cold open, he was talking about, the truth of it all. And there is a truth to it, because you don't see, like, wrestling fans don't just gravitate to this stuff just because we love the athleticism of it. We gravitate towards it because there are stories within it that we deeply relate to. Like when it comes to Cody Rhodes and how he wanted to make his father proud on a spiritual level and finish his story and win the title that his dad never won. That's real. Like when Becky Lynch wanted to rise above and win all of the championships because she felt like she was one of the horsewomen. She was one of the horsewomen that didn't get her just due. That's real, because how many times have many of us, if, as human beings, have tried to work hard for something only to be passed up for it for somebody who has favoritism, or for someone who comes from a well-to-do family or deals with nepotism in some way? Like, how many times have people had to deal with it? Even to a degree, even with Kofi Mania, and I know we don't like him at this point right now, especially after what him and Xavier pulled, but years ago, when Kofi was trying to fight for his opportunity at the WWE title, but he was being put through ringer after ringer after ringer. That is the black experience to a T. And that's real. So that entire monologue that Triple H performed, where we also saw all the photos, like the art piece of all of the characters that have existed in all of wrestling over the years, all of that just felt very real and very heartwarming. And the thing that I love about Triple H as a leader is the fact that you can tell he loves wrestling the exact same way as we do. And it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. Like, it's not just a money thing. Like, it's a true, at the heart, in the deep depths of your soul type of thing. And aside from the booking, aside from all the other stuff, at the end of the day, what brings us all together is this crazy little world that we get to be a part of. And this night felt like a celebration of it all. Like, you saw celebrities, sitting with each other. You saw ordinary people sitting with each other. Like, all of it, wrestling just brings us all together. And I think that was just the most amazing part of it. Now, there was a part that I'm going to be very truthful about that I did not like, and that the people of Los Angeles also did not like either. And that was the part where a certain Terry Bollea decided to show up and, give a little bit of a pep talk with an American flag and talk about his partnership with Real American Beer and all of that. And of course, today it was made public that WWE was doing a partnership with his beer, Real American Beer, and it was one of the sponsors because the logo was in the ring, along with the Netflix logo and the Prime logo and other logos too. And let me just say, I just don't feel like WWE at this point doesn't necessarily need Hulk Hogan anymore because, and honestly, I, as a wrestling fan and as a black female wrestling fan born in the South, I really feel like someone who has made it his business to talk all sorts of trash and say all kinds of negative things about black people should not be on a show that actively features pieces of black culture and black people as athletes. He shouldn't be there. He should not be there. Like, if WWE is reaching this point where you have two black women, three black women as the big three, as a part of your beginning intro that you had with the cold open. You have people like Kofi and Xavier, being prominent heels at this point. You have so many black people, just filling out what WWE is at this point. And then you have superstars like Travis Scott and so many other black stars being a part of it. How is it that in 2025 you are still doing business and gallivanting with a known racist who also supports a very horrible person? How are we still doing this? I just feel like a place that that has been doing a pretty okay job at incorporating current culture, or people like Sexy Red and people like Travis Scott and so many other black people and black superstars in your things, should not be doing business with the likes of somebody like him who is actively put himself on the same platforms as a known racist. Both of these men are racist. So why are we doing this now? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And yes, you could say it's all business, but as a black fan, it's just disheartening because I just feel like there is no level of nostalgia. There is no level of him revolutionizing wrestling in the 80s or everything else like that that's going to take the sour taste of racism out of my mouth. Yes, he did have that iconic match with The Rock. Yes, you did, have one of the craziest heel turns of all time. But at the end of the day, you are still a person who was caught on tape saying the N word about black people who probably were fans of you for a long period of time. It's almost like he just forgot about all of that and just decided, oh well, I'm just going to be bigoted now because this is crossing my door now. It's terrible. And then you decide to double down on it for what? And yes, I understand that he's going to probably still have fans after this, but at the end of the day, I know I stand where I stand. And the fact that the people of LA were booing him on this big of a show says a lot about how folks feel about him. And they can try to ignore it all they want to. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do. But at the end of the day, I'm just speaking out from how I feel. This man is not a nice person. He is not a nice person. If he met a black fan, he probably would just think twice about it and probably wipe his hands with hand sanitizer, or maybe even not even want to talk to them or talk to someone like me. And it's so heartbreaking. But that's just the truth of the matter. You've shown us who you are and we believe you. Now we don't want anything to do with you. Like, we have enough legends. We don't need you. And that's just how I feel about that. But other than that, the rest of the show, the episode was amazing. I definitely recommend you go back and watch it. And if you are of a certain um stance, you can fast forward through the Hulk Hogan part. But either way, or you can also fast forward through the Logan Paul part too. Because yeah. But either way, it was still an amazing episode. So of course, Raw is gonna be on Netflix. So just keep your apps shiny. And of course, this has brought us to the end of this episode of HWP Extra. So thank you guys so much for watching. Even though I know there's other stuff going on, you chose to watch me talk about this amazing show. So thank you guys so, so much. Of course, I will be back tomorrow with Krista B from Those Wrestling Girls and Vaughn from the Victorious Ones as we discuss for the very first time a subject outside of wrestling. We're discussing the CNN documentary Luther Never Too Much, which is all about the life and legacy of the R&B king Luther Vandross. So please check that out tomorrow. I'm very excited about that. And yeah, just continue to support the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. Follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. Follow the Hardy Wrestling Podcast on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast and on Twitter at Hardy WrestlePod. Subscribe to the YouTube channel where you can be notified every time we go live. Follow me on TikTok. At Stephanie_Hardy. And you can follow me at Queen Steph Hardy on Blue Sky if you have that as well. And just continue to support the vibe because we've got good stuff cooking up and coming on. And this week will be the return of Steph and Cat Talk Wow for the new year because we got a lot to cover. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode of HWP Extra. And I definitely hope you enjoyed this first episode of WWE Raw on Netflix. And yeah, wrestling is amazing and wrestling is cool and it'll always be a safe place for those looking for it to be and for as long as we continue to fight for it to be a safe place. So, this has been the Hardy Wrestling Podcast Extra with your girl Stephanie Hardy, and until next time, bye y'all. Good night.